Good morning and welcome for coming out today. Thank you for coming out today and welcome. And we're doing our smoothie workshop today. As you see, we have lots of things here that we're going to play with because smoothies should be something to play with. But I really kind of want to go over, and you all have in your notes all of the lists of foods and what's in those foods and why they're good for you. But I kind of want to go a step back even further from that. And smoothie is really something that's become very popular, right? And there's a couple reasons. One is that you can make it taste like a dessert, and everybody likes dessert, and so it got really kind of popular that way. But then there's the health side and the benefits of it. So there's ways that you can do a smoothie that is a healthy smoothie, and a way that you can do a smoothie that's pretty much just a glorified dessert, right? And so you want to look at what you're doing, what your intention is, and then how do you make the smoothie as nutritious as you can for what you're shooting for at that time, okay? So there is ways that you can make a smoothie work and ways that you can't, that you can mess up a smoothie. There really is. And so I think what I'll do today is I'll start off by showing you what doesn't work in a smoothie, and then repairing that and seeing, okay, what can we do now at this point to make that work in consistency and in flavor and appeal. Because if you make a smoothie and it comes out pretty much gray, it's not going to be very appetizing for a lot of people. So you want to take in the aesthetics of it also. You can always put it in a paper cup and hide it, but but today we're going to use something more clear, so let's think about all those things. But stepping back, it's like, why smoothies? Why even bother? Anybody have any ideas?
High nutrients that you get out of the foods you put in.
Mm-hmm. It has liquids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so those are all good things, right? It's a way to get some fluid in you. It's a way to get higher nutrition in you.
They're easy.
They're easy.
There's a lot of fiber.
A lot of fiber in them.
They fill you up for a long time.
They fill you up. So all those things are part of the good things about a smoothie.
Ooh, one dish to clean.
One dish to clean. One blender. Yeah, absolutely. So all those things are definitely pluses. And so I think the other thing that often is missed is that they're raw.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
That they're raw.
food.
And that and these came from my garden from this morning. This is my chard right now. Inside of a raw green, there is lots of vitamins, lots of minerals, lots of phytonutrients, right? All those good things for you. But there's also, and there's fiber, right? But there's also the enzymes that can digest this all by itself. So it takes less work inside of our body to do digestion. Because there's just a limited number of digestive enzymes that we have in our life or in a particular moment. And if we're using and eating a lot of cooked foods, a lot of devitalized foods, we're having to come up with the digestive enzyme to digest that 100% ourselves. Whereas when we give our body raw food, we're actually giving it a break from all that energy producing needs of producing more enzymes. So in raw food, in order to not kill enzymes, you got to keep the temperature down below 118. 110 most people shoot for. Well, that's pretty hard to do if you're cooking something. And it can, in some cases, not in these units, but in some units, you can generate enough heat that you can actually pop up so that it's really not, it's above 118, it's not really raw. So we aren't going to process anything that long, right? In a smoothie, you can process this quickly, so you're never going to generate enough heat to not have it be raw. So the benefits of raw are huge, not just because of the enzymes, but also the phytonutrients. They are not tampered with. And in being not tampered with, your body gets full access to what's available in them. And because we're picking things as organic as we can, we're hoping that we have a high nutrient content to the food. But food, no matter whether it's organic or inorganic, I'm sorry, processed or conventionally made, grown, no matter what, you only get nutrient out of them that's available from the soil. And if the soil's depleted, which a lot of America's soil is depleted, that the nutrients aren't as high as they could be. Or conventionally, you put in 3 elements to grow these crops. They can grow them pretty and big, but they are pretty much low in the smaller minerals and things like that that we need. So doing organic is good, but that in and of itself isn't 100% of a promise that you've got everything you're hoping for. So by doing some smoothies, by doing something raw, doing organic, you're upping the ante that you're getting nutrition that you aren't going to get other times, other places. Which makes the smoothie such an easy, handy thing that we were talking about. It's one container, cut up a few things, one container, it's easy to clean up, it's fast, it's got high fiber, it's good for us. All those things are great. And it's how we want to mix these things to create the biggest benefit to the cocktail we're kind of making. Sometimes we're going to make one that's a lot more sweet with more fruits, you know, beginner smoothies. If you're going to do greens, you want to mix, if you're just getting used to it, you want to mix less greens, a little more fruit, just so that people can get used to the flavor. And over time, you can add more and more green to it. The interesting thing about a green that a lot of people don't realize is that this has a lot of protein. This is a high protein food. Not high like meat, but it's a high protein food, and it has a lot of omega-3s. So before there was grass-fed beef, there were greens, there was grasses, and cattle, animals that eat grass create more omega-3s in their body because that's what they're eating is omega-3s. So we can also get omega-3s from greens. Not as a high dose as you can from a fish oil, but you still, you know. So there's things that most of us don't realize when we make a smoothie that we're actually getting a lot more balance in our diet than we realize. So I also picked some broccoli greens because these are cruciferous. They have a high sulfur. And in the broccoli and that high sulfur, any of the cruciferous vegetables, there's certain phytonutrients in here that are very cancer protective. And in this day and age, with as much pollution and stuff that we have, these are something that should be, not necessarily this leaf, but the cruciferous vegetable should be in our diet every single day. Every single day we should have some cruciferous vegetable. Now, some people might have such a dangerous thyroid condition they've been told never to eat these. You know, you have to pretty much figure it out for yourself what value there is to having none of this protection. So, okay. So what we're going to do is first kind of do a little demo about what doesn't work. And I'm sure if you've ever tried, has everybody tried smoothies?
Yes.
Everybody, okay. And have you ever had that smoothie split so that there's a whole bunch of vegetables floating on top and some liquid underneath and not very fun?
Appetizing.
Or appetizing. So I'm going to put just like a cup of water in here. And let's go ahead and just put, let's see, I'm just going to put a little handful of this in here.
What is this?
That was the kale, and then a couple of little leaves of the chard. And then, because this is noisy, close your ears. All right, so this is pretty much just green water, right? Greens and water. Nobody's really going to enjoy that much, right? So you're going to want to put some kind of a fruit into it. Let's just grab a little apple. And you probably should not cut this way, but I do it anyway.
So how much of an apple were you using?
This is a,
Maybe half the apple?
I'm using half an apple in this case, and this is a organic Fuji apple. You can use any kind of apple that you like, but I'm going to chop it up a little bit smaller because this is not the Vitamix, and I just want to help it blend faster. So I'll put an apple in there. Now that's about as pure of a smoothie as you can get, right? A little apple, a little sweet, a little green. And you see how it's kind of like veggie, massively veggie. And if I pour some of it out, and I let it sit for a minute or so, you can already start to see it separating.
Right.
At the bottom here is getting darker and darker, and the vegetable stuff is going to float on top.
Okay.
You can start seeing that separate out.
Right.
Yep.
Now, if you're giving that to somebody who's never had a smoothie before, they're never going to have another one. Right? So, yeah. Does that look good or what?
No.
Yeah, they're not going to do that again.
What does it taste like?
Would everybody like to try this?
Sure.
Everybody? Okay.
Suckers.
Look at the brave people.
How does it feel going down? I guess I'll find out.
It feels fibrous.
Try it.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, no, it's
okay.
it's
from
just,
the,
it
excuse me.
tastes green.
It tastes great.
Yeah, very planty.
So do you taste the apple?
Yeah, you taste the apple a
Yeah,
little
you
bit.
get the apple did get enough sweet.
Yeah.
It's real fibrous, real chewy.
Mhm.
Yeah. But that's not going to. That's not going to make you want to do
Oh, sorry.
smoothies. No.
Here, let me pass this on to you.
It's not a pleasant consistency.
Right.
Yeah.
So we don't. I'll go ahead and take that back from you. So that's not what we're shooting for, right? So how do we repair that? What if that was what you started because this was your first smoothie? You know, what do you do now? Right. So let's think this out. What didn't work about that? There was a lot of fiber, some fluid, and some sweet from the apple,
But there's no binder?
but there's no binder, right? And without a binder, smoothies are always going to separate. So what we can do is we have a handful of things that are almost always going to be binders. One is a banana. Banana is going to thicken and bind and hold the fluid and hold the vegetable together so that we're not going to get that clumpy green, you know, and it's sweet enough that it's actually going to hide some of the green flavor too. The other thing that is a good binder is a avocado. These are the two best things to bind. You can use mango, and you can use things like a yogurt or an almond milk. They're not going to be the same degree of binder, but they are going to be able to blend it and hold it long enough into solution. So let's go ahead and fix this one. Please.
I still have that in my teeth.
So we'll go ahead and use a banana. And let's go ahead and just add a little bit more water to that. Now, if we wanted to make this thing a little bit more healthy, without putting more green in it, because there's plenty of green in there, we've got some kale and some chard, we can add some flax seeds. So I'm gonna put like a teaspoon of flax seeds in here. That's going to up the fiber again. It's also going to up the omega-3s. And there's plenty of omega-3 in there, really, when you think about it, from the greens.
That looks more appetizing.
Yeah. There's still, remember, there's still a lot of green in this one. Yeah, let's get let's observe it from the point of view of
Yeah, much better.
not so chunky.
Huge difference with the
Yeah.
banana.
Yeah. So. Let's go ahead and taste this one. Now remember, this is as green as you can get practically.
Didn't seem like you needed a lot of the actual greens in there.
What's that?
It didn't seem like you needed a lot of the actual greens. It didn't take much.
Right.
Okay, let me give you that one. All right, so now we're going to do a real vegetable-orientated, kind of like a gardeny, soupy kind of smoothie. So it's not necessarily going to be what you're traditionally thinking of a fruit smoothie. This is going to have a little fruit in it, but it's going to be more of a salady, gardeny thing. And you had brought up a good point about a lot of the foods and things that we get in the store are being pasteurized, which means they brought them up over the heat that unfortunately kills the enzymes. So by doing things yourself, again, we're keeping those enzymes intact. But I think one of the things that's another good point about that is, like, if we realize, like, what is the most damaging food type that you could ever possibly put in your body.
Sugar. Isn't a food type though, but sugar.
There's so many choices,
Yeah, right.
but it really boils down to a refined, devastated product, really. And unfortunately, most of our diet is refined foods. So the little bit that you can do on your own that will, supplement that with some real food in the most raw, healthy state that you can, is a little bit more that you're doing to offset the wear and tear from the American diet. That even if we've been eating as healthy as we can think we can eat for a long time, whatever that is, you're still an American. Growing up, you still ate an American diet, probably. So we have a lifetime of some deficiencies inside that diet. If you're reading through a lot of the research and the findings, that it looks like, and it stands pretty, like the Mediterranean diet is pretty much hands down statistically associated with the best health outcomes of any diet. Now there also are good health outcomes with some of the other diets, like the Japanese Nakagawan or whatever. I'm sorry that I said that wrong, but there's a few other places that have statistically really good health outcomes related to the diet. But generally, that's a harder diet for most Americans than the Mediterranean diet, where we recognize a lot more of the foods. We don't base it so much on seafood and things like that. So, in like seaweeds and things. So with the desire to create a healthy diet, about the ratio that shows really high statistics to that is a diet that has approximately 50% of its diet as live, raw food. That seems to be the ratio that if you really like to take it over the top and be called a health nut, you might want to shoot for about 50% of your diet being raw plants. So even if you only shot for 50% of your diet being vegetables and fruit, you'd still have one of the healthier diets on the planet. And if you could up at least half of that in the beginning to raw, you know, you're already way ahead of the game. Because our FDA pyramid makes it look like you want to eat about 6 servings of vegetable a day. 6 to 9 serving of vegetable a day. It's really about 6. And a serving of vegetables is what would fit into a half cup. Right? So 6 half cups or 3 cups a day, and you would be so much higher than the average American in the amount of vegetables that you ate.
I believe it.
Right? That's not really as hard as it sounds. It's almost impossible for most Americans to do that, but it's really not impossible. And a smoothie can get you almost halfway there with raw right from the get-go in the morning. Right?
Yep.
So let's now go ahead and make this garden type smoothie up for us. We're going to use the Vitamix for this one. And I'm just going to start by putting in about a cup of water. Just a little bit more. All right. And we're going to use some tomato for this one. Don't have to cut it very much because we're using the Vitamix. But we do it in 2 tomatoes. And we're going to, I'm going to put in a half a cup of cucumber. And I'll mount it up a little bit because these are chunks. And I think we're going to use carrot. So we're going to go ahead and use at least a cup of carrot. And we're going to use celery, which would probably be at least a half cup of celery. So if we think about that right there, we're going to have 1 serving, 2 serving, 3 servings. Okay, there's 4 or 5 servings already inside of this from our daily. We haven't got to our greens yet. So let's go ahead and use some, let's go ahead and use like 3 leaves of the broccoli. And I'll take a little bit of the stem out. And you don't have to, especially if it's in the Vitamix, but I'll keep it just mostly greens just for the demo factor of it. And I like to just kind of strip out the stem a little bit. On that, we'll put in 3 small leaves of the broccoli. That will give us a little hit of that cruciferous. We're going to use about a half a cup of parsley. And I'm going to use some kale. Let me just take some of the leaves mostly. And again, you don't even have to do this, but this is going to have enough food in it. It's going to be a big smoothie. Okay, good. So let's do that.
So half a cup of kale?
This is about half a cup of kale. 'Cause, see, it's kind of a handful. When you put that handful in there and press it in there, you have pretty much a half a cup. So that's kind of the way to think about it too is, you know, what does that look like in my hand and am I getting a ballpark? So let's throw that in. And I think we've got that there. I'm going to throw in some half a cup of, this is frozen pineapple. So we want some sweet in there. And then kind of blend in that flavor. Now remember, that's pretty much right now a vegetable. We're still gonna have that same problem we had earlier. We wanna throw in some lime.
Look at that rainbow.
What's that?
Look at the rainbow.
On
Yeah,
the inside of the
yeah.
bladder mix.
That's pretty. So what I do is I'm just gonna squeeze in some lime juice on top here. The lime's gonna help cut some of the flavor of some of the green and other veggies. And then let's just throw in a couple of small leaves of chard. So that would probably be more like 1/4 of a cup of that chard, but it's just 2 small leaves, just to make it a little bit more over the top nutritious. And then let's make sure we have everything we want in there. Still want some avocado. And avocados have been a little tricky lately. I guess they got frozen somewhere. So we're gonna use like 1/2 of a cup of avocado. Ta-da. So now we're gonna have that avocado be our binder. And what's the value of having a healthy fat?
Fills you up.
Your brain needs fat.
Yes. Your
I
brain
just
does
watched
love
that. Did you watch that thing on TV?
Yeah. Was that Dr. Amin?
Dr. Parmenter?
Oh, that's
It was
another
on
guy.
last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the healthy fat, your whole body likes it. Your brain likes it, but your whole body likes it. As well as, we know that it's going to be a nice binder for this. And it's going to make it creamy. Right? So without that, we wouldn't get that creamy effect. We're going to add just a little bit of ginger too, just kind of give it a little hint of flavor. So I've got like 3 little pieces. I'll throw that in on top, and then let's go ahead and just turn that on.
All right.
All right, so let's experiment with this. And it would still be possible to add more things to it if you got to, you know, if you tasted it and you went, Check it out here. There we go. And it is plenty thick. So you might be even something that you might even want to add.
Uh-oh.
You know, for what it is, it's actually pretty good.
It looks like cream soup, actually.
It is. It's very much like a cream soup. I'm thinking that it's worth having everybody taste it, keeping their cup, and then I will add some berries to it, and we'll see what that does with it too. So we'll let everybody have a little taste. And it's so thick, I might add just a hair more fluid to it. But think of it as soup this first little bit.
Pam says she wants extra. She's over here hitting my sugar going, I want more.
Thank you.
It really does look like
You're gonna try this too, right?
Everybody have one?
The chocolate workshop is so much more fun.
Well, you have to do a rerun.
That doesn't taste bad at all.
No, it doesn't taste bad.
No.
That's very refreshing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it is missing.
But it's missing. Missing
got-
a little bit of
yeah.
the sweet. The pineapple wasn't enough. I could add more pineapple, and that would probably round it.
There's a hint of it, but
Now, would you add just regular apple? Or it doesn't go in this blend?
No, you could.
I
this
think
actually,
apple would be a good
apple would work
choice.
really well in this blend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we can add the other half of the apple, as well as.
When does the chocolate come?
I
That's
thought
the
we
last
I thought we
drink.
get the main course down first.
Well, they do have some.
She said we're going to go
They
from...
do have some greens with chocolate.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think we're gonna go from the worst case scenario to the best one.
This is
Yeah, so
good.
what I'll do,
I like this a lot. And actually, it's sweet
Yeah.
enough for me because I don't do a lot of sweet.
Right.
I can even taste the lime in it.
yeah, the lime's nice and the ginger was really nice.
I'm
Yeah.
tasting tomato for
Yes,
me.
yes. But think about it, if you have a garden in the backyard, you have smoothie ingredients, you
Yeah,
just,
really.
it's like farm to
Exactly.
fork right there.
Right, right.
So, yeah, it tastes fine. It could be just a little bit more fun.
It tastes like a salad.
The
It
what?
tastes like a salad.
It tastes like a salad,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's a fresh garden salad.
I think you could even serve it as a cold soup, like in a little bowl.
Oh, like a
Mm.
gazpacho?
Yes, yeah.
That'd be real good.
so I put a half an apple in there and then I'm going to cut it because I think it's a little thick. So I'm going to cut it with a little pineapple juice instead of pineapple. Just cut it a little bit more. Probably put about quarter cup in there. Okay? Let's see what that does.
You get to be your own juice artist.
Yes.
Exactly.
So actually, doesn't apple have pectin in it, which is a binder, right?
It is, but for
But
some
not the
reason,
right
it
kind.
doesn't, for a smoothie, it doesn't do
Mhm.
enough binding
Yeah.
to keep the green and the water blended together. All right, kiddos. I should probably check this out, be the guinea pig. It's still pretty thick.
Yeah, my hairdresser does that when she makes a mistake.
Wow, let's do these two first.
Yeah.
What's it taste like?
I have my name on
it-
my cup.
It's good.
You like that?
You can taste the apple.
Okay.
It did not thin up as much as I thought it might. I
Well,
might still add a little
Sometimes
bit more.
ice cubes do that, right? When you
Ice
put
cube-
ice cubes in.
Yeah, ice cubes would.
How's it taste?
Good.
It's good. It's
Yes.
It's not
nice.
super
Yeah.
sweet.
Or do you
Which
think
is
a
nice.
little more avocado might make it creamier?
I could add the more avocado. I probably,
Like
I can
it?
taste the pineapple
Mm-hmm.
from that fluid that I added.
Yes. That's where the extra sweetness is coming from and extra.
Yeah,
So what do you guys think?
I like it.
I like it. I like
Like
both
it.
versions, actually.
Both versions, yeah, me too.
Mhm.
They were different. On this version, this one that we just made, I probably would turn around and add a little bit more ginger because when I added the apple and the pineapple juice, it took the ginger down.
Mm.
And I think if I popped the ginger up just a little bit more, I'd have just that little edge of zing.
To our health.
yeah.
Salute.
I know.
But yeah, absolutely. This one,
Can't beat the nutrients.
yeah, this is your harvest smoothie, and it absolutely works. But you know, if we were kind of backtrack, we'll have carrot, probably 2 servings worth, according to the cuppage. Celery, 1 serving, so that's 3. We had cucumber, a serving, so that's 4, right? Okay, 4. And then the greens, that would be 5.
Tomato.
Tomato, 6, maybe even 7, because there were 2. The apple is just a bonus. The pineapple, we'll call it just a bonus, even though those are all going to count in that overall thing. So we've got at least, vegetable-wise, we have at least 6 servings.
If you drink the whole thing,
Right, if you drink the whole thing.
yeah.
But even if you don't drink the whole thing, you still have a really round vegetable supply and nutrient supply because you've got the tomatoes and everything it brings to the party. You got the greens, what that brings to the party. You've got the fruits, what those are bringing. So everything in here, highly nutritious, good tasting, works, and you can play with it more. Yep. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and do a berry smoothie. So we're going to use a different kind of base. I'm going to use, this is actually a tangerine juice. You can use a orange juice, but tangerine has a little bit of a different flavor, so you can kind of go different directions with it. It's all a chemistry experiment in many ways. Let's just put this down here for a second. And I'm going to put in, this is almost frozen.
Is that a cup?
What's that? That's a
You-
cup, yeah.
cup.
I'm going to go ahead and put in, just for fun, a little bit, probably like a quarter cup of the grapefruit juice, and then another,
I think it's pineapple.
oh, I'm sorry, you're right, pineapple, not grapefruit, pineapple. Thank you very much. That's like when I did the pomegranate video, and I called it a persimmon the whole way through. Yeah, that
Redo.
worked well.
So to clarify, you have 2 cups of
2 cups
tangerine
of
juice
yeah, 2 cups of juice.
and then quarter cup of the,
Oh, no,
Pineapple.
2 cups total.
Okay.
okay.
2 cups of juice total. And then I'm going to throw in some cup, actually that's 3/4 cup of blueberries. And a little bit of green, because you can't do a healthy without some green when you need it.
You know, this is a way too to hide vegetables for children.
It is. Yeah.
And husbands.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw in some of the cruciferous. So I'm putting about 4 leaves in here. You can start out with 1 or 2 and then kind of build yourself up to about 4. Okay, so now we're going to want to go ahead and cream it up a little bit. So I'll use the other half of this avocado. Now I want to say pomegranate. So that's going to be nice and creamy there. As well as throw some banana into it, because we can.
Nice.
This is gonna be a creamy one.
Yeah, this is be nice and creamy. That should be quite flavorful. I'll start with a half a banana. And then I'll just throw in a couple, like a small amount of raspberries too. That would kind of help zing it up. Raspberries have a little bit of a different zing than the blueberries. And then we'll just pump that down. And we'll go ahead and turn it on and blend it. And let's see where we are with that. That looks like a nice thickness.
And it's not green.
And it's not totally green, even though there is green in there, but the blue and the red and the berries, right? So again, you want to look at, is that appetizing color? And I think it is.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't come out gray. And sometimes you can manage to make it gray. And you guys, actually, why don't I make sure? Yeah, I think that will be, I think that'll work. Here, they
Thank
got one.
you.
Jean, how is it?
It's good.
Oh, no.
They're actually heavy though, so.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Miss Pam, what do you think?
It was delicious.
Yeah, how about you, Miss Ann?
We had some ice cubes
Oh,
and thicken it up and make it real cold.
Yeah.
Be yummy.
Ice cubes would be good on that one.
It's very, very.
The tangerine.
Tangerine is
Yes.
tangerine.
Yeah.
Yes.
But nice round flavors.
And without these berries, I mean, the red ones you put in,
The
it would have
raspberries.
been kind of bluish thing.
I think some tequila in this.
You know,
would
the
be
interesting thing
awesome.
about raspberries, when you blend them, they turn almost blue.
Really?
Yeah, they'll pink up a little bit, but there's a blue tone to raspberries when you blend.
Red, yeah.
I think too, if we use the Vitamix and turn it on super high for a minute, a lot of these little seeds might have been blended up too.
Yeah, if I'd left it on longer.
Yeah.
But this way you know you have something to eat.
Yeah,
Because there are, and that's from the raspberries, just those little seeds.
the little crunch factor.
So a little extra fiber. The
This is
blueberries
very
are,
yummy.
full of fiber also.
And that's only a half a banana, which seems
That
just
was-
right.
Yeah, half a banana.
Yeah,
We
that's
didn't
true.
need a whole lot more sweet in this one.
Uh-uh.
And then the avocado brought in that nice fat.
Yes.
And that's going to help with the green. That's going to help slow down the sugar hit because you think, well, that's a juice,
Mm-hmm.
a base, right? I used a tangerine juice as the base.
I can't see the sugar.
That's going to be a sugar hit. So I have to do something to slow it down. And when I put in the avocado, I'm going to slow down how quickly the sugar is going to hit my bloodstream. So it's kind of like thinking these things out so that we aren't just drinking something healthy for us, could still give us a high insulin spike
Right.
if we don't think it out. Another thing you could try to do in something like this would be to add flaxseed, which would be a fat and a fiber. That again would slow down the hit. So anytime you're going to use a juice, especially a fruit juice as a base, think ahead of time, how am I going to cut that so that it hits my bloodstream slower?
Would an almond milk do that too?
Almond milk would slow it down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think protein would be your other, a protein powder. Now, but if I added a protein powder to this, I'm going to get a lighter,
Yeah.
because the protein powder is going to whiten it up a little bit, so there's going to be a different tone to the color. Not that that's a bad thing,
Right.
but kind of, think the whole thing out. And protein powder, a vanilla protein powder would go really well with this.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm all for it.
No, you're fine.
Liquid.
Yeah, it's not.
Good.
Don't even.
I think that one worked. And then we'll do one more dessert, or at least the chocolate that everybody was hoping and waiting for. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this because it's right here. And it's like having a never-ending Vitamix for us.
That's because I keep washing it.
Somebody keeps doing the work.
But again, there's only one thing to wash.
Yeah, so now what we're going to do is like a chocolate almond butter smoothie. So we're going to add, given that we got enough people here, let's go ahead and put in 2 cups of almond milk. Let's start with that as our base. And then we're going to want to add some banana. So you're going to use the rest of the banana, and I'll use just another one also. So we're going to use, in this case, these are fairly small bananas, so we're going to use a banana and a half. And we've got ourselves 1/4 of a cup of almond butter, raw almond butter.
Smooth,
What's that?
smooth or creamy, or not chunky,
This one might be chunky,
It will be smooth.
but it'll be
but it's
smooth.
going to be more than smooth by the time we're done with it. So that's a 1/4 cup of that. Or the equivalent of what you can get out of the container. Okay. And then, because this is healthy smoothies, we're going to put a couple of small leaves of broccoli in there. Small broccoli leaves. And you can totally use this. This will blend it up nicely. I've got 2 small little mint sprigs from my garden. And I'm going to use some chard. We're getting low on the chard, so we're not going to put necessarily as much in as we could. We could put another leaf in easily. And then we're going to use some cocoa powder. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of that.
Is that the raw cacao powder you're
Yeah.
using?
So I'm
Would you repeat the recipe since the camera died?
yes. We had 2+ cups of almond milk, a 1/4 cup of almond butter, 1 1/2 bananas, a handful of greens, and I added just a little bit less than a scoop of vanilla protein powder.
Cool.
Cocoa powder
cocoa,
and
yeah.
2 mint leaves.
Oh, right, and 2 mint leaves and 2 tablespoons of cacao powder. And I will make sure this works.
Mhm.
And it does. It's maybe a little strong, I think, right now in the almond butter side of it. So I think maybe what I'll do is try to cut that and add maybe a quarter cup of the raspberries. And see if I can cut that just enough to. Yeah, I think that pops the chocolate a little bit. Okay. Funny how something that small can hide the chocolate. When there's 2 tablespoons, it's plenty of chocolate.
Texture, that looks really
Mhm.
smooth.
Nice and creamy.
Oh, it looks lovely.
And that has a
Now that's
one
for
and a
sure,
half banana, oh, thank you.
for sure one thing that you can always, and this would be nice with a little extra ice. That coolness would be kind of a nice touch to it.
Yes.
Oh, that's yummy.
How you like it?
Nutties, huh?
Delicious.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Ann?
Just wonderful.
You're right, with that ice.
Yeah.
Okay, I like this one.
Yeah.
How about you, Jean?
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. It's my favorite.
Yeah, it's subtle, but
Mhm.
that first one with that little extra hit of the, and you get, I didn't let you guys taste it, but it hit the chocolate. So by popping just a little bit of the raspberry in there, dulled down the nut butter and brought up the chocolate.
So did you get the cacao powder at Co-op?
Yeah, and
Whole Foods has
I
it
have
too.
the dark cabo, but they don't carry this at the co-op anymore.
Oh.
But I really, really like this particular
Brand.
one and flavor from it.
If you used cacao nibs instead, would they
You
get
could.
blended up?
You could, if you have like a Vitamix that would really make it smooth, yeah.
Okay.
You absolutely could.
I
This is
could
delicious.
picture coconut in here too.
And you could take it that direction.
Coconut water.
But- And this one would,
Or
you could
coconut.
actually use coconut water in that easily. Maybe even instead of the almond milk, you could probably take it all the way to with coconut milk and or coconut water. So there's lots of ways to play, and that's what today hopefully is about, helping us look at, oh, this is just kind of a chemistry experiment, and have fun. Sometimes it works, and if it doesn't work, there's a lot of ways to try to fix it. It's rare that you have to dump the whole thing. It could happen, but it's really rare. But there's always ways to play, and when you start to play with it and you kind of get a feel for it, you'll go like, that's too buttery, let's put this in, and then, oh great, that brought this out. So this, so that's pretty much so. Lots of things to play with now. And so many different ways. Like we didn't even get to the yogurt. You could add protein to almost any of these. So it's really like getting in your mind, what is it that I want the outcome to be a little bit? What am I using it for? Am I using it for just like a juice and a cleanse? Then I'll keep it really pretty pure to the vegetables. Am I using it to give me some calories and to work out? Then I'm probably going to put avocado in it, right? I'm probably going to do things that are going to give me more calorie content to last longer. Even this one, I think a cup of it came out to about 133 calories per cup. So none of these were like a really high calorie food, but if I'm using it as a meal replacement, then I want to start thinking, is it enough calories too? How much of it do I have to drink to give me a calorie to do the job that it's supposed to do also? Cool?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming out
Yeah.
and sampling all this and having fun. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
And then we'll see you on the next one.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Bye.